Alrighty, so we have a pretty standard Zacian team with Grimmsnarl. We have Landorus, Thundurus, Torkoal, and Venusaur. Now, Jumper actually works out really well here, denying Torkoal really much, as well as kind of punishing, not really punishing, but it does do good damage against Landorus. I think one thing I need to be mindful of is that against Thundurus, I don't want to activate Defiant quite yet, but something that we can also use to our advantage is Dusclops Frisk. I can then figure out what Thundurus has. If we get rid of Thundurus, still doesn't pave the way for Feeney's win, or neither does it pave the way for Rillaboom. I do like Rotom a lot. Okay, I think I know my play. I think my play is going to be Rotom, Drampa, Dusclops, Zacian. Depending on what my opponent brings out, we can then say like, hey, you know what? If I get double Genie, then I will switch in Dusclops for Rotom. Rotom does really well against the double Genie just because it can resist Max Quake. It's immune to Max Quake. It resists any of the electric moves, any of the flying moves. The only move I have to be mindful of is Max Rockfall, but I don't think it's going to happen. Torkoal and Venusaur also kind of punished because the Chlorophyll doesn't activate. But we can switch out Drampa for Rotom, and then I can kind of punish. I can work around. I can kind of go from there. All right, so we're gonna actually see Venusaur and Thundurus. That's kind of a cool lead versus Drampa and Rotom. So this is interesting. Cloud9 activates. So what the opponent's probably thinking, right? I have Thundurus. I have Venusaur. Probably has Torkoal, and it probably has Zacian, right? So, they're not going to switch in Torkoal, because it doesn't do anything for Venusaur. So, it really just feels free to go for a Volt switch on... that's a good question. Do we overheat the Venusaur? If Venusaur protects... Venusaur probably isn't going to protect. Can't switch in. It can switch in with Torkoal, but even then, it would take a pretty decent amount of damage. And I feel confident going for a Hyper Voice on my own. So we're going to do that. Okay. So the Thundurus Dynamaxes most likely has Max Knuckle. But is Knuckle going to be that oppressive that it's going to make a big difference? Because Rotom can Dynamax against Zacian, and that can be really helpful for me. But let's see what we can do here. I feel like if Venusaur is Focus Sash, we for sure will knock it out. We're going to get the Max Airstream. It's going to go onto the Drampa. Drampa takes a decent amount of damage here. That means Venusaur outspeeds, but what is Venusaur going to go for? Because if it goes for a Sleep Powder on Rotom, yeah, thanks. We like to see it. Oh, we just get the knockout. That's nice. Okay. Cool. That's really nice. Getting a knockout on Drampa, getting a knockout on Thundurus is going to be helpful. Now we have Landorus. Landorus comes in, he uses Intimidate, so then it's Zacian in the back. Okay, that makes sense. So there is no Torkoal here. Most likely it's Zacian. Now, if I was Landorus, I would probably use Rock Slide. So I kind of want to bring in Dusclops right now. And I don't mind going for Hyper Beam here. Alright, you know what? Yeah, might as well go for Hyper Beam. Who would be the best target for Hyper Beam? Probably Landorus. Let's go for it. Because if you double up on the Rotom slot, then for sure I should get this knockout. And at that point, Drampa's pretty much dead weight. Alright, Lumberry on Lando, Assault on Thundurus. We're going to get the Max Knuckle. Thank goodness. That means we're going to get a Rock Slide. That was a solid double up. That means Drampa, if it doesn't flinch, it flinches. Of course it would. Okay. I don't mind Pain Splitting. Yeah, if it didn't flinch, I think we would have been in a better spot, but I guess Hyper Beam would just be a monster of a hit. Still very effective for sure. And I don't want to go for Snarl. Snarl's pointless. We're going to get the Max Knuckle onto the Jumpa. That's fine. Lando gets an attack boost. And so does Thunderous. So Jumpa's out. And we're going to get a Rock Slide. Questionnaire. Okay, I take it decently well. No flinches. And I get a Pain Split off. Nice. We love to see it. Okay. Huh. You do have a speed boost. Wild Charge will do a decent amount of damage. Okay, I feel like here's my play. I'm gonna Trick Room. I'm gonna Protect. Then from there, we can try to max... I think max flaring the Thunder spot will be a very helpful. Especially because we know for a fact it is Assault Vest, so I can't Protect. Thunderous most likely will try to target the Rotom slot. And so we can use that to our advantage. So let's go ahead and use this Protect here. Yep. Woo! That is just helpful. And we're going to get another Rock Slide. So if we are able to survive the... If we don't flinch... We take that like a champ. Come on, man. Double flinches. We hate to see it. Okay. I'm getting for Trick Rooming one more time. Flare fits for 140. I'll fire off Flare into Landorus. Especially too because Thunderous still would take a lot of damage from my own Zacian. And so we can use that to our advantage. Like, we can even use, like, Plane Split, and just do a lot of damage here. So, alright, so we get the Superpower. Does a lot of damage, unfortunately. The attack drop is really nice. Rock Slide comes off. Oof, it just does a lot of damage. We get the Max Flare. Is that enough to knock out Lando? It is! Oh, no. By only a few HP, a little bit of HP, unfortunately. And we get the Trick Room up, though, which is very vital here. Okay. So still looking in a solid spot here. I think I want to Nightshade the Thunderous. And I'm going to Flare the Lando one more time. Okay, this is great. That means we get a free max flare on the Zacian spot. So I'm glad that we called this out perfectly. So we fire off the Nightshade against the Thunderous, and we get a max flare off. That's just a free knockout. And that means that I can't get intimidated with my own Zacian. Wow, this game turned out really well. We got another Superpower, but you're lowering your attack greatly. So that's fine. Yeah, and all those defense drops actually will be beneficial for me. I'll be able to take any attack from Thunderous and then retaliate with a really strong max... I get to retaliate with a really strong... Behemoth Blade. I feel like in this case I'll go ahead and Nightshade the Landorus, and I will Max Flare the Thunderous as well. But yeah, them sacking Zacian that early was not great for them. Yep, and they cancel. Yeah, it was kind of easy to kind of tell if, like, you know, their fighting chance, and so I didn't want to get baited into, like, a potential, like, even if he protected, then I still knock out the Landorus. And Landorus is a big Pokemon that I needed to knock out. Despite the double flinches, too. But that Trick Room at that moment was really nice. And that's the nice thing about Trick Room, too, where even though you're not necessarily thinking, like, oh, Rotom's a really slow Pokemon, because it's not, you're slower than your opponent. That's what's most helpful. And so we use that to our advantage, for sure.